it's time to start. We teachers are so punctual. I think now it's high time to start for us. Today our topic is, as you can see it on the screen, useful phrases that help you maintain any conversation in English. Sounds very tricky, doesn't it? Okay, and some words about me. Firstly, I would like to thank our Institute of International Education for kindly providing me this opportunity to help you to speak English more fluently. Okay, and let's start. Some words about me. My name is Inga Nikolaevna Aksenova. I'm a senior lecturer in our favorite Institute of International Education. My teaching experience is 11 years. I have successfully passed IELTS and TKT. Probably you don't know what TKT is. It's a teaching knowledge test. Also, I've done some foreign internships to the USA, to the UK, and to Greece. What I do in our university, I teach a practical course of English, English for specific purposes, and also home reading. I also have other professional interests. They are literature, psycholinguistics, dictogloss, as it's the topic of my thesis, and I'm also very interested in Russian as a foreign language. And our topic today is what to say when you actually don't know what to say. I would like you to vote. Look, this is the speech number 1. Imagine that I am telling you today, hello, I will tell you about good phrases for a talk. I think you will like them. They are very interesting. Do you understand me? And awkward silence. Awkward. If you think that they are useless, you are wrong. And if you think that they are useful, you are right. I like my job, and I think you will like my presentation. This is speech number 1. Look at speech number 2. Good afternoon. Today I'd like to give you a short talk on useful phrases to maintain any conversation in English. I'm convinced you will find them practical. What I'm trying to say is that you can apply them in simple dialogues with friends as well as with an examiner during the state exam. This topic appeals to me as I am fond of my job and I am keen on sharing my experience with you. I hope you'll get a lot of pleasure out of watching my presentation. Your questions will be kindly answered at the end. Look, and this is speech number 2. And that was speech number 1. Can you please vote in our chat and type the number of the speech which you liked more, number 1 or number 2? Which is the best speech in your opinion? And I will see what you write in our chat. Number 2, Andrei, Nastya, yes, thank you. Thank you, Irina. Yes, Emil, I absolutely agree with you. Now, if we compare these two speeches, what we can see? The left one doesn't seem very catching. The left one doesn't seem very professional. But the right one, on the other hand, seems perfect. Instead of I will tell you, which is easy to say, but doesn't seem very good, we can say I'd like to give you a short talk on. Look how beautiful it seems. Instead of I think, which I as a teacher hate. I hate when my students tell me, well, I think. Instead of that, we can say I'm convinced. Okay. Instead of interesting, which I don't like also, we can say practical. Instead of do you understand me, which doesn't sound very polite, to be honest, we can say, well, what I'm trying to say is. Next, I like, which is very simple, too simple. We should say this topic appeals to me. I'm fond of my job. I like my job, I'm fond of my job. What sounds better? Of course, this one, the green one. And also, I want to tell you how. I can say, I'm keen on sharing my experience with you. Look, how emotional. And instead of, I think you will like it, I should say, I hope you will get a lot of pleasure out of watching my presentation. Dear audience, dear listeners, I would like to tell you that at the end of this presentation, you are going to be given a task. That's why, please, make screenshots, take screenshots while I'm speaking. I will tell you later why you need it. You already can take a screenshot of this left speech. This one, number 2, which everyone in our chat found the best. Okay, and let's come closer to our topic. What should we say to seem very professional, to seem proficient in English? Please never ever say I think. It doesn't sound, how to explain, it doesn't sound proficient when a teacher or any person who talks to you hears, well, I think. It sounds like your level of English is maximum elementary or A2, but I hope that your level is much upper. If not now, it will become later, don't worry. So what can we say instead of I think? There are a number of phrases. For example, the first one is I'm convinced. Is when you are sure in something. You should say, you know, I'm convinced that, and continue talking. Well, I would like to apply all these phrases to some topical issue. How do you think? What's the most topical issue connected with education now? Can you please type it to our chat? We will interact with you a little. What's the most topical issue which we are all concerned about now? What is going on in the world? What situation are we having now? Where are we staying? Where am I staying instead of my favorite Institute of International Education? I'm staying at home. Yes, Sonia, thank you. We are staying at home. And so the most topical issue for today is e-learning, distance learning. I hope you agree with me. Okay, and we will apply all these phrases to distant learning today. For example, instead of saying, I think distant learning is bad, you should say, you know, I'm convinced that distance learning doesn't improve my knowledge, for example. And hear how emotional and how proficient you sound now. Okay, and one more way to say I think is I reckon. Please make sure you have the correct stress, not recon. Recon sounds terrible. Please say I reckon. I reckon means I think. They are synonyms. But when you say I reckon, you sound, I don't know even how to say, like you are growing in your listener's eyes. Also, you can say, as far as I'm concerned, which sounds also very scientific. As far as I'm concerned, coronavirus affects our minds, for example. The next way is, as I see it, as far as I know. I also want to draw your attention to pronunciation. When you say as far as, you should say it as one word. As far as I know. So mind your intonation and pronunciation. Also, you can say, I suppose, not I suppose, like students like saying, I suppose, personally speaking, and from my point of view. Again, don't forget to take screenshots of my screen because later you are going to be given a task, okay? So, if we are talking about this coronavirus and distance learning, you can say, as far as I'm concerned, some countries are going to open their borders. It sounds more professional. And I also hate when my students say, I like, I don't like. Instead of this, you have more interesting phrases like, I get a lot of pleasure out of something, or I get a lot of pleasure out of doing something. This appeals to me because, or I'm fond of something, I'm fond of doing something. For example, I personally get a lot of pleasure out of my job. I get a lot of pleasure out of teaching the students. Of course, I prefer doing it face-to-face, but now it's almost the same. I get a lot of pleasure out of this too. Look, one more phrase which you can easily replace and seem more proficient is instead of saying I want, please use different phrases. For example, I am keen to do something, or I am keen on doing something. I'd like to do something. I feel like doing something. I'm in the mood for doing something. I hope you're in the mood for learning today, as I am in the mood for teaching you, because I get a lot of pleasure out of teaching. As you remember, I used I get a lot of leisure out of instead of I like. And I used I'd like to teach you, for example, or I'm in the mood for teaching you instead of I want. Please make sure you do not say I want. I want sounds too simple, too easy. If you are taking your exam, I know that most of you are going to take this state exam. And if you are talking to a teacher or to an examiner and you say, you know, dear teacher, I'm in the mood for traveling around the world, but this coronavirus doesn't let me. That sounds perfect. And even if you make grammar mistakes, even if your pronunciation is not good, the teacher is already charmed. And you will get higher points, I promise you. I am a teacher. I know what I'm saying. Next, instead of saying what, to be honest, when I hear my students say what, for me it's absolutely impolite. Like in Russian we say что, in English what is even worse. So if you didn't understand the question addressed to you, which may happen as the vocabulary may be too difficult for you, or I don't know, maybe you're just not in the mood for talking now, you can say, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Please don't forget to take screenshots of my presentation, because later you're going to be given a task. Okay, also you can say, could you say that again, please? Could you repeat that, please? It's very important to say that instead of it. It sounds more colloquial. It sounds more speaking. If you say, could you say it again? It's okay. Your interlocutor will understand you, but it's better to say that. And one more very important fact, like life hack, a lot of students say, could you repeat, please? But that is not correct, because if you say, could you repeat, please, it means that you want me to repeat after you, like you are dancing and you are saying, hey, Inga Nikolaevna, could you repeat, please? That means that I should repeat after you. Do not say that. Please add that all the time after the word repeat. Just remember, put it in your head. Could you repeat that, please? Next, again, if you don't understand something, you can say, could you explain what you mean by, for example, I'm saying you, do you like abracadabra? And you say, instead of what, you can say, sorry, could you explain what you mean by abracadabra? And I will explain that to you, of course. And one more good way to show you that you are not understanding something is like, sorry, I don't really see what you're getting at, what you're leading me to. Sorry, I don't really see what you're getting at. It means that you're very polite and you would like to understand the person who is speaking to you, but you just can't. I don't know why. You just can't understand. Okay, and one more way which I like very much, very, very polite and very proficient, when you say, I wonder if you could say that in a different way. And here you can also add please. Make sure again that you do not say wander. Wander means to stroll, to go for a walk, and this word has a different spelling. And here we should say wonder. If you are there, please repeat after me, but do not turn on your microphone. Just repeat after me. Wonder. I wonder if you could say that in a different way. Please. This last thing is very, very polite. But if you say it during your exam, why not? Again, remember, say that instead of it. Say wonder, not wonder, wonder. And add sorry and please. Okay? So this is one way to say what is very, very wrong. Do not use it. Sometimes you would like to see that a person who you are speaking to understands you. Instead of asking, do you understand me? You should use some other phrases, because the phrase, do you understand me, doesn't sound polite also. It's like, hey, do you understand me? What? No. You should say some other phrases like, to put it another way, or what I'm trying to say is, or what I mean is, or in other words. Also, you can use, let me explain that in more detail. Please do not say details, it's wrong. Let me explain that in more detail. And here the stress is on the first syllable, detail, not detail. Okay, so this phrase sounds correctly like the following. Let me explain that in more detail. Okay, or one more phrase, to put it differently. In my opinion, it's a very easy phrase, to put it differently. Everyone knows what put means. Everyone knows the word different. Differently is an adverb. That's it, to put it differently. And the last one, which will help you, which will help you make the heart of a teacher during the state exam melt, if you say, don't get me wrong, but etc. That means that you are trying to clarify if a person who you are speaking to understands you. Again, very important to say that instead of it. It's a, how to explain, it's a tip. It's a very useful tip for you. If you use that instead of it, the teacher who is listening to you will accept you better. Just believe me, I'm a teacher. I know what I'm saying. Sometimes when you talk to people, there is awkward silence. Especially, again, I would like to address this state exam. When a teacher asks you, you already asked him, sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say that again? I wonder if you could say that in a different way. And the teacher repeated, for example, and you still don't know what to say. Probably the topic is not absolutely yours. It's not your cup of tea. You don't know what to say. You can, of course, you can be a sheep and say meh, but you understand that it's not good. Instead of that, it's better to say, again, to look very scientific and say, it's quite a difficult question. Oh, well, I guess, And the third one is my favorite, because while you are saying this phrase, this long phrase, you give yourself time to think. You're saying, I must admit I haven't really thought about it much before. Look, some seconds, and while you're saying this phrase, your mind works very, very hard and gives you some ideas to present. Or, that's a tricky question, really. Tricky is an emotional word, and if you say this instead of interesting, for example, or difficult, again, the person who you are speaking to will feel pleased, like, that man or that girl knows what she is saying. So that's a tricky question, really. Or while you're thinking again what to say, your mind struggles trying to look for examples, you should say, the best example that comes to my mind is, or the best example that comes to mind is. Or just to be honest and say, it's quite a difficult question. I need to think for a moment. And if you say this phrase, I need to think for a moment, the person or the teacher now will let you this time, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. As it was for you, right? While I was talking about silence, there was awkward silence for you. I was speaking and trying to give you my ideas. Okay, again, when you have this awkward silence when a teacher asks you a question which you don't know what to say. You can use a lot of sentences, such as, it's quite a difficult question. I guess. And when you're saying I guess, your mind works hard and is trying to find some ideas. What to say, you're thinking. Also, I like this one very much because it's the longest one. You should say, I must admit I haven't really thought about it much before. Or, that's a tricky question, really. Or, the best example that comes to mind is, or just to be honest and say, I need to think for a moment. When you're honest and when you're saying, I need to think for a moment, the teacher or the person who you're speaking to will let you this 10 seconds to think. And I like the idea of combining these phrases. You can say, I must admit it's quite a tricky question, really. I haven't really thought about it much before. I need to think for a moment. I guess the best example that comes to mind is, you see, I have just used 5 of these phrases and I let myself time to think. Dear students, again, I would like to remind you to take a screenshot because later you will need these phrases. I will tell you why. So let's come from awkward silence to a different slide, which is you're right. When you say you're right, it sounds like, again, elementary student. I mean the student of elementary level, A2. You should say something more complicated and something, how to say, more, again, proficient. Say, I couldn't agree more, or absolutely, definitely, precisely. These words are not difficult, just don't forget about them. Or instead of saying you are right, you can say I totally agree. I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. Something softer is I tend to agree that. Or I see where you're coming from. Or again, I'd go along with that. Please remember one more time, once again, this life hack. Do not use it, say that instead. And the teacher's heart will melt. I'd go along with that. And put on a very thinking face. I'd go along with that. Okay, sometimes you do not agree with the person who you are speaking to or with any idea. It's absolutely wrong and very impolite to say you are wrong. You will seem a very uneducated person. So never ever say that. Instead, you should say, yes, of course I see what you mean, or that's one way of looking at it. However, so be very, very soft. Try to avoid these strict sentences like you're wrong. No. You can also say that is not always true in some situations. So you can be like a snake and try not to say very, very strict. You're wrong. I do not agree with you. Goodbye. No. Like be softer. Like I'm not so sure about that. Again, life hack. That not it, but that. I'm not so sure about that. Any native speaker will hear, I do not agree, when you say, I'm not so sure about that. For them, this is the only way to say, I do not agree. You can't say, I don't agree. Or, no, you're wrong, come on, come off it. This is very informal and doesn't sound polite. Good. Also, you can say, I see what you mean. I personally don't see it that way. When you show the person you are speaking to that you understand them, you understand their point of view. Maybe you have a different point of view, but you understand theirs, they start respecting you more and they get softer to you also. Okay, instead of saying it is good or it is bad, you should say, you should be emotional like I am now, I'm trying, I can't see you, I don't have this face-to-face, eye-to-eye contact, but I can feel your energy. So instead of saying, yeah, it is good, traveling is good, or distance learning is bad, you should be emotional and say, oh, what a great idea, what a brilliant idea, what a fantastic idea. Russian students usually do not like it. They say, it's too emotional. I'm not an emotional person. I don't know, I am very serious. I'm very strict. What's the point in using this what, how, etc.? But thinking like this, you are wrong, because it's in British and the American mentality to show more emotion that we Russians do and other nations also. So please do not hesitate and use them. What a great idea! What a fantastic idea! If you sound so emotional, the person you are speaking to or the teacher during the state exam, again, their hearts will melt. They will say, this person understands what they are talking about. Or also you can say, what a pity, what a waste of time, what a shame. You know, it's okay to interrupt a person who you are speaking to only if you would like to show your emotions, like, oh, what a pity, what a waste of time, what a shame. Even if I'm talking myself, I have a monologue, for example, about the distance learning, I can say, oh, what a fantastic idea to host a webinar. What a pity that we can't meet face to face. I really think so. What a pity that we can't meet face to face in our favorite Institute of International Education. But I hope sooner or later we will meet there. Okay, and also you can say, how interesting, how annoying. I hope no one thinks this about my presentation. Oh, how annoying. No, you think, how interesting. Or if I'm telling you something which happened to me, where I feel embarrassed, you can say, how embarrassing, how awful. Please, again, take a screenshot, do not forget about this. And we use noun after the word water if the noun is singular, and we use adjective after how. Do not confuse them. We cannot say how brilliant idea. No, no. How plus adjective, water plus noun. And when you would like to finish your speech, instead of saying, okay, goodbye, or off we go, or let's finish with it, it's better to use some phrases like to sum up, to wrap up. Make sure you read it correctly, not wrap, but wrap. To wrap up. I don't know why, but some students like reading it like wrap. No, to wrap up. In conclusion, to conclude, in the end, I would like to say that, in a nutshell, I like this one very much. In a nutshell, again, if you say this to a teacher, their heart will melt. In a nutshell. It's when you want to finish your speech. As you understand, probably now, sooner or later, I'm going to finish my speech and I can say, in the end, don't forget to take a screenshot again. In the end, I would like to say that there are some top tips how to help you maintain conversations in English. First, you should learn 30-35 phrases by heart. Yes, dear audience, dear listeners, by heart. If you know these 30-35 phrases out of the phrases which I showed you before, I'm going to show them again. If you learn them by heart and if you insert them in your speech will sound much better. Believe me, I promise you. Do not trust yourself that you think, I know these phrases, I understand them, of course. Why should I learn them by heart? Because when you are faced with stress, when you are at the exam, for example, or when you have to talk to a foreigner, or I don't know, when you are under stress, your mind works in a different way. And now you think that you may remember this phrase, but I'm telling you, and my experience tells me that no. Please learn them by heart. You might say, it's so difficult to learn them by heart. It's boring. I hate drilling. Yes, okay. Just every day, look at this list of phrases every single day and read it only once. And I promise you that in a month, you will know them. It will take you only 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes a day and beautiful speech. Is it comparable? Of course, it's worth it. Okay, the next tip, which is very useful, and it has been checked by practice. You should practice, saying something, and record yourself. Record yourself is very important. When you make a recording and then listen to yourself, you catch so many mistakes. And you might think, oh my God, what a silly mistake I made. How could I? Don't worry. Don't judge yourself too strictly. We are all people. I'm sure when I finish this webinar and when I watch it again tonight, this evening, I will be shocked because I'll say, I didn't say this, I didn't say that, I made a mistake probably. Every person does it, but to practice and record yourself and then listen to yourself is very, very important. Believe me. And also, there are some resources which I recommend my students to practice speaking. If we have time, yes, we have some time, I will show you how they work. Look, you can take a screenshot or you can just remember that it's learnenglish-britishcouncil.org skills speaking or learnenglish-britishcouncil.org skills speaking or Cambridge English or Learn English activities for learners. There you can practice speaking for free with imaginary partners. I will show you later. Now, what I would like you to do now is I will look through all my presentation again. Please take a screenshot of every single slide because you are going to be given a task. Again, I will just briefly remind you the phrases. Instead of I think, you should say I am convinced, I reckon, as far as I'm concerned, as I see it, as far as I know, I suppose, personally speaking, from my point of view. Instead of I like, I will just read only one phrase to save our time. Okay? Instead of I like, you can say I get a lot of pleasure out of doing something. Don't forget about screenshots. Instead of I want, you can say I'm keen on doing that. I'd like to do that. Instead of what did you say? I don't understand you. Instead of this, you should say, could you repeat that please? I wonder if you could say that in a different way. Again, remind you, if you say, could you repeat please, the teacher will repeat after you and will do the same which you do. Do not forget to use that. Could you repeat that please? Instead of, do you understand me? You should say, let me explain that in more detail. When it's awkward silence and you don't know what to say, instead of, oh, well, you should say, I must admit, I haven't really thought about it much before, but instead of you are right, it's better to say, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I see where you're coming from. Instead of you are wrong, which is absolutely wrong to say, it's better to say, I'm not so sure about that. Again, that, not it. Next, show emotions. Say, oh, what a fantastic idea. What a shame. How awful. Don't forget about screenshots. When you want to finish, it's better not to say, okay, goodbye, thank you. You should say, in the end, I would like to say that, etc. And top tips. Learn 30-35 phrases by heart, practice and record yourself, and use different resources. What I would like you to do today is to give me a 5-minute talk on distance learning. Distance learning, 5-minute talk. What it means, you should use all the phrases which I gave you today, all the phrases or not all the phrases, it's up to you how you can do it. And give me a talk on distance learning. What do you think about it? What's your opinion? Agree, disagree, etc. And your question is where to send it. You should send it to Google Disk. The link to Google Disk is already in our chat. Check it, please, and tell me. Put a plus if you got it, and put a plus to our chat if you can open it. Just try, please. Okay, thank you. I see Sonia. I see Andre. Yes, the students. You see, I'm calling you students already. I hope that you are our future students. Come to our Institute of International Education. Okay, what you need to do? You have exactly 1 hour to give me a speech on distance learning. Again, I will show you this again. Distance learning, a 5-minute talk, using all the phrases which I showed you today. Not all, of course, but let it be, I don't know, 30 phrases, 35 phrases, the more the better. And send this speech to me. I will check it today and give you my feedback. Please do not lose this opportunity, this chance to be checked by a teacher and to the opportunity to talk actually, for free. Just be sure that what time is it now? Now it's 20 minutes to 5. That means that you should send all your audios till, let's say, 5:45. So exactly 1 hour for you to do that. Distance learning, 5-minute talk. Okay, if what is the question in the chat? And this is my email, just in case. I would like to say to you that you should keep calm and speak English. Yes, now we have some time. I would like to show you how some resources work, which I showed you today. For example, let's open one website. I will just show you. My webinar will appear on YouTube tonight, and you may watch it again. Look, this is one of the websites which I like very much. There is a dialogue, some people talk, and look what you see. It's your turn now. We start. So basically, you need to pretend that you are talking to a real person. Look.
Ah, Jack, please take a seat. I'm Mrs. Spence.
And you are reading. For example, I'm Jack. I'm saying, hello, Mrs. Spence. Nice to meet you.
You too. So, you've applied to do a teaching course here.
Yes, that's right. I'm saying this. Yes? And later, what I like here, later you have again the same phrases, the third time the same phrases, but now there are some gaps which help you learn these phrases, drill these phrases in an interesting way with this nice woman. This is one way. There is one more website which I like too. It's Learn English Teens. You imagine that you are talking to this nice girl. She is saying something to you. Listen.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
she's saying something to you and you're answering to her.
Yeah? Who's your teacher?
You're saying, Madame Martin.
Oh, she's really good. I like Madame Martin.
And you see, they let you read these phrases. Now, where really she makes a speak, etc., etc. And also later,
Yeah? Who's your teacher?
you see, at the end, you don't have any words. You just need to imagine a real conversation. Okay? That's what I wanted to show you today. Again, I would like to say thank you for you. And again, my motto, keep calm and speak English. Dear audience, dear listeners, thank you very much for your presence. If you have any questions, any queries, any requests to me, feel free to ask them now in the chat. I will try to answer them. Oh, thank you. Have a brilliant day. Thank you too. Have a brilliant day also. I see your pluses. Okay, Emil, don't worry. You can rewatch the whole webinar again. It will appear on YouTube tonight. Just watch it again. You missed a lot actually, but don't worry. The webinar is not very long. Thank you, Irina. I can see your comments. Thank you very much. Again, one more time, what I am waiting from you today, dear future students. Please give me a 5-minute talk on the topic of distance learning. Send this talk, this audio, to the link which is in our chat. Just scroll up and you will see it. Maybe I will send it again one more time just to make sure you got this link. Here it is. And today till 5:45 I will listen to your talks and I will give you my kind feedback. Any questions? Any queries? Okay, just to finish, I would like to say that yes, upload your audio there until 5:45. I would like to say that it was very nice today talking to you. I am waiting for you in our Institute of International Education next year. Is it appropriate to say I fancy instead of I like or I want? Yes, but you should say I fancy doing something and make sure you say it only in informal speech. It's not okay to say I fancy doing something when you are talking, when you have a round table talk. I fancy accepting these measures. No, just do you fancy going to the cinema today? It's appropriate to say. Informal language, yes. Yes, I see a question from Katya. Yes, Kate, you need to send an audio to that. Wait. I will answer to Kate. You will upload the audio to that link today till 5:45. Irina asks, in my speech I often repeat the word that. How can I replace it? It depends on what you mean. When do you use this word that? For example, if you say, I would like to say that, one strategy is to try to catch you, to use your will, but of course it's very difficult. You should, what I recommend, to take a piece of paper and a pen and Google and write 10 synonyms to the word that. And next time, keep this list with you, Irina. And next time when you say that, you can catch yourself and look at this list of synonyms. Learn at least 3 of them, and I'm sure it will help you. That's what we do with our students. They like the word interesting, and I ask them to write a list of 10 synonyms like fascinating, appealing, etc. And next time when you catch yourself in saying that, remember of that synonym. I hope I answered your question. Yes, I see your message, Danny. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you, Danny, for your attention. Any other questions? So I see that there are no questions, or you are still typing. Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute. And while you're getting ready with your questions, if there are any, again, I would like to remind you that I'm waiting for your 5-minute talk on the topic of distance learning today. You have 1 hour to do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think that's it. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you for your attention. Will sites be linked somewhere? I mean, look, you have my email. You can ask me and I will send you these links to my email. Okay? Also, this webinar will be shown on YouTube and you will see these links there. Or ask me in writing to mine. I mean, are they presented in the webinar? Yes. They are here. You see? These things. Thank you, Kate. So, thank you very much for your attention. The links are here. And maybe I should say goodbye to everyone. Yes, no, thanks. So, have a good day, everyone. Expecting you in our Institute of International Education.